Have you seen this snail? One of the most emotional SpongeBob episodes ever. Nearly everyone knows this episode where the famous Gary Come Home song plays, with the little montage of SpongeBob looking for his pet snail. This episode is burnt into my brain, especially as someone that grew up watching SpongeBob. This is one of those TV moments that will forever be iconic. If you grew up in the 2000s, you probably know the lyrics by heart. But now that I'm an adult, I don't really think many of us have taken into account how incredibly well crafted this episode was. On November 11th, 2005, Nickelodeon dropped their masterclass of an episode, a 22-minute special named Have You Seen This Snail? Promoted everywhere as the Where's Gary event. It was hyped for months. It pulled 8 million viewers, making it the highest rated cable broadcast for kids that entire year. But aside from those crazy big numbers, this episode did something that most animated comedies aren't able to pull off. Usually long episodes that are hyped up can feel like cash grabs, but that's the furthest thing that this episode was. It balanced out an emotional theme alongside a bit of horror and hilarious comedy without failing one bit. The creators actually turned this into an emotional roller coaster. Anyways, the story kicks off with something that every little kid can relate to. Being obsessed with a new toy. SpongeBob received a package in the mail with the Mermaid Man paddle ball set, and there's a challenge named the Dirty Bubble Challenge, where you have to hit the ball nearly 30 trillion times in a row. SpongeBob got so hooked with this game that he forgot about everything around him. He played for a whole week straight, maybe even more. And we start to see things getting pretty harsh from here. Instead of being just a fun challenge that he tries for a few minutes, he got so addicted that he lost touch with reality. He was losing sleep over this ridiculous game. Gary is literally starving. He needs food, and he begs SpongeBob to feed him, but SpongeBob got very aggressive, and this guy screamed at him and wanted Gary to just leave him alone. And it hurt to watch, because I'm sure SpongeBob under different circumstances would never talk to Gary that way. He was totally distracted, and Gary got his heart broken from the way SpongeBob was treating him. So he packed up his bag and left a note and left Bikini Bottom. And SpongeBob didn't even realize it until Patrick came over and snapped him out of it, making him realize what happened. Something is missing. He looks around for Gary, and he found the note, and he realized that he lost his pet snail. And from this point on, SpongeBob realizes how much he was in the wrong. Now, if you look closely at this middle area of the episode, you can see that the team did a fantastic job. There are so many cool details. Since Gary ran away from the Bikini Bottom, we're able to see parts of this SpongeBob world that we've never seen before, like creepy alleys and towns far out. We don't ever see these in regular episodes, so it was a big change. We also even got to see some new rooms in SpongeBob's house. And there's a ton of missing pet posters too. You'll see messy crayon drawings, some quick notes written by hand, and then you'll see a giant billboard alongside posters taped everywhere in the city. Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't violate any laws with these posters. And even the jokes add to this episode. SpongeBob went to work crying, and Mr. Krabs tried to give SpongeBob a speech about how working hard fixes everything. Basically wanting to just trick the poor guy into flipping burgers. I mean, after all, that is a Mr. Krabs thing to do. But SpongeBob took it in a different way and left work to go search for Gary instead. And SpongeBob and Patrick were so close to capturing Gary. But Patrick got distracted and missed Gary literally by standing right next to him. So while SpongeBob is freaking out and fearing about losing his beloved snail, Gary ended up being at what looked like probably the best place ever. This old lady found him. She thinks that Gary is her lost pet, named Miss Tuftsy, and she just wouldn't stop feeding this guy. She fed him endless amounts of cookies and snacks, and at first, Gary genuinely thought he hit the jackpot. He was getting fed so much, it was basically like an all-you-can-eat buffet just at home, and he was considering SpongeBob might just be a part of his past. But at this point, the episode was showing glimpses of a horror movie. After seeing one of SpongeBob's posters, Gary tries to leave, but he accidentally ended up opening a closet door that revealed a ton of broken snail shells. I remember seeing this as a child and I was terrified. If SpongeBob just cared about this guy, we would have never been in this situation. She was the furthest thing from a sweet grandma. She was literally feeding lost snails, like Gary, until they would gain so much weight to the point where she could eat them. It was terrifying. Seeing such a cozy little house turn into a nightmare, where she's chasing Gary down the hallway with a plate filled with deviled eggs. That's absurd for a kids show. Gary suddenly was able to get himself out of this situation by pushing a random stray snail in front of her. She took the bait thinking it was Miss Tuftsy. It's a sad, dark joke, but it worked. And now we're at the best part of the episode, Gary Come Home. Usually, music in SpongeBob is just used for little jokes and skits, but this song is genuinely sad. Combined with SpongeBob being so hurt, it really made you feel bad for him. He knows that he messed up so badly, and he just wants his pet Gary back. And Gary was finally able to make it back to Bikini Bottom, and he found SpongeBob crying on the side of the street. Their reunion was amazing. SpongeBob hugged Gary and promised him to cook him a huge meal. However, Gary just hit him with that exhausted meow, and that is a perfect way to end it in my opinion. I think the first time I watched this episode, I was maybe around 5 years old, and as a whole adult now, I love this episode even more, and it's not popular just because of nostalgia. It holds up 20 years later because of how much effort was put into it, the animation, the background, and the story. I really think that this episode holds its spot as one of the best Nickelodeon specials ever. If you made it this far, thank you. If you want, comment, and subscribe to me if you want to see more videos.